tallow oil and the oil in South Lokichar Basin with the utmost urgency. Honorable Gikaria, my good friend, member for Nakuru East, I agree with him totally. Nothing stops REREC from putting in place meters. They can actually do the last mile up to the point of metering. Okay? And then a framework is established for handover to KPLC for purposes of billing, Honorable Speaker. This will create synergy and enhance efficiency and contribute to customer satisfaction, Honorable Speaker. Again, the matter of applications taking too long, I have discussed and have been made aware of the bottlenecks that the utility companies have been facing. This, again, we shall work on. The question of illegal connections is not necessarily a matter of delayed in processing applications. The matter of illegal connections will still be there even if the applications are processed on time. And we have to deal with it separately or differently. And my proposal, and
it's a crime, you know that.
It's a crime, of course. Yes. It is a crime, but we must also live with the reality that some of these areas where this practice is rampant are not easy to access, even by the officers of Kenya Power and Lighting.
Yes.
Yes. So we are going to work on a proposal, of course, together with Parliament and the Attorney General, to pursue an option of bulk metering. Okay? In those kind of situations, the Kenya Power and Lighting can be empowered to identify one entity or one person who will then be billed, and then he distributes the power to the rest of the
law already
consumers.
Allows them to do that. Why don't they?
Yes, that's why I said from the outset, Honorable Speaker, that I will...
Anyway, you are not the minister, so
I will need to
address it when you...
fast-track the issue of the regulations, yeah.
We'll go to the next batch. We'll start with Robert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the nominee, you know, when Jubilee came into power in 2013, they marketed the last mile connectivity very, very well. In fact, citizens were of the opinion that they would all be connected within like a month or so. And so that has brought a lot of pressure on members of parliament, because whenever people are not connected, they have this belief that the member of parliament is seeking to only power some areas in their constituencies and not others. I would like you to, from your opinion, you know, having of course studied the situation, to tell us what will you do to ensure that this pressure is taken out of members of parliament, because members, you know, the public thinks it's our issue. Now, the other issue is an issue of public confidence, Honorable Wandayi, in that office, and considering that you have been also with us in the minority, you know, and I'm saying this because you know what Kenyans out there have said, and it will be important for you to address them from this point. What can you tell those Kenyans that believe that you took advantage of the young Kenyan demonstrators, some of whom who died while they were demonstrating, so that you could negotiate your way into government?
Owen?
Thank you very much. After that boom from your former deputy, I want you, from your former deputy, I just want you to focus on cost of power, Honorable Wandayi.
Yeah. Order, Bossing? Yeah?
It has expired. Yeah, I would like to get full attention. Honorable Wandayi, the cost of power in this country is such that it is over the roof. If you get a power bill, you look at it, you know, you're paying so many things apart from, in fact, the units that you are paying for actually become a small part of what you're paying for. for this country to rise or fall in terms of manufacturing, in terms of production, the cost of living and the prices of items, it all falls and all rises on the sword of power cost, for which, in your statements, you have said this country, in Parliament, many times in Parliament, you've said that the cost of living in this country is very, very high. But one of the biggest contributors of that cost, of that high cost of living, is power. You are in the middle of it. Apart from thinking about reticulation of power, apart from thinking about all these other things, you have a big elephant in the room. How do you bring the cost of power in this country to reduce the cost of life, and also to increase manufacturing, industrialization, and all those other things? Thank you, Honorable Wandayi.
Rugara.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Nominee, the ministry you are just about to take over, if this committee and the House approves you, is one of the key ministries in the country, akin to roads, water, and every Kenyan is looking upon you to be connected to electricity. And there are not two options to it. Even before I ask you the question, it's good to know that there are historical injustices in terms of power supply in the country, such that, take the case of the year 2017, the Raka constituency was at 9.5% connectivity to the national grid. At the same time, Gatundu South constituency was at 100%. These are all equal Kenyans. There really should not be that disparity. Number two, we have schools. Schools where electricity is just but mandatory. Yet, those areas are not connected to the national grid, and the children are supposed to compete competitively in national exams, which are standard. My question to you is, would you be subscribing to a form of affirmative action in terms of electricity supply to constituencies which have lagged behind? And it's just not to Tharaka. You go to Mwingi North, you go to Mbalambala, which is also my neighbor, Bere North, Bere South. These actually have been discriminated against. And therefore, would you be prepared to take affirmative action in respect of those constituencies?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To Honorable Opiyo Wandayi, the nominee. My colleagues have talked about electricity. You have talked about the transformers. Do you see we need to move away from oil-based transformers, because every other day you will hear people removing the oil from the transformers, and we have got transformers which do not work sometimes, or we have got a shortage of transformers. So do you see, will you do research? Because I've done, if you go to the Western world, you do not see any transformer, and I know you've been there. So you do not see transformers there. Do you think we can have KPLC having a company where it will be having fiber optic? I know they are doing it right now, but because of the ICT of this government, to deliver fiber optic to each and every place, because it's a vast network, as you have spoken about it. The last one is about the Kenya Pipeline Refinery. Your predecessor, if you are confirmed, who was here, Davis Chirchir, he said they were looking at it once the oil, which Honorable Posing has talked about, the Tullow oil and all that, once it's done. But I believe if that refinery was there, we could even get cheaper fuel and refine it the way it used to be. So do you think it is possible under your watch, if you are confirmed? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorables.
You can answer those.
Honorable Speaker. Yes, indeed it is true. That is, with respect to Honorable Mbui's question, that members of parliament are facing serious pressure from the public on the matter of last mile connectivity in respective constituencies. Because again, it has been taken for granted that this is the work of the MPs, okay? Which they have been doing, of course, very diligently in collaboration with the REREC. Honorable Speaker, what we need to do, in my view, is to properly resource REREC. Properly resource REREC as we work on the efficiencies for this rural electrification to be fast-tracked. As we speak, the data I have is that we are at about 76% penetration. That, of course, is theoretical. Because, you know, in some areas, it's as low as 10%, while in others, it is over 100%. Yes. So I'm very much alive to that fact. In fact, we need also to bring on board counties, county governments. Honorable Speaker, under Schedule 4 of the Constitution, the counties have a role also in energy, more so in street lights. Okay? What has happened in the past is that REREC has been able to build street lights, which street lights go off soon after they are commissioned for lack of payment of bills and maintenance, which they presume is the mandate of the counties, Honorable Speaker. So my view, this state of affairs is not tenable. We must make a decision, and I'll be coming back to Parliament. Okay? We must make a decision as to whether to empower REREC fully, to be able to be in charge of this street lighting, up to including payment of bills. But more importantly, if we can now move away from the grid, national grid, and establish solar street lights, okay, which will be easy to manage in the long term. That's the discussion we must have urgently, because these are important facilities. Honorable Speaker, on the matter of public confidence, as raised by Honorable Mbui, you know, Honorable Speaker, I am very clear in my mind, extremely clear, because I've been on this space for quite some time. The Gen Zs, or the youth, were not raising any different issues from the issues you and I, Honorable Mbui, have raised over the years. They could have had a different style, okay? But the issues they were raising were pertinent issues, which you all agree must be dealt with, okay? And therefore, it is not proper to say that we have taken advantage of the Gen Z's clamor to get into government. First and foremost, Honorable Speaker, I never applied to join the executive, but I was pleasantly surprised and felt greatly honored that my name was recommended. And His Excellency the President went ahead to nominate me.
You know the facts. Just answer the questions.
So, Honorable Speaker, I still maintain the view that we are not in any way in betrayal of the cause.
Don't allow Mbui to bully you.
Of the youth, yes.
And have no apologies.
Yes. But again, Honorable Speaker, as I conclude on that one, you know, we are basically coming on board in a paradigm shift. I'm very pleased that the President has actually declared that we have to adopt a paradigm shift in the management of government and state affairs. And I'm most privileged if I'm approved.
In our country.
In our country.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We are living in different times. Yes, so we must also think differently. Sorry. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Baya, you are right. The cost of power is exorbitant in Kenya. Even if you compare ourselves to our neighboring countries, especially Ethiopia and even Uganda, really. But part of the reason why our cost of power is too high, is the exorbitant amount of commercial and technical losses that Kenya Power, especially in cars. Kenya Power loses up to 23% of the power it buys from the generators. Okay? In other words, it doesn't sell almost 23% of the power it buys from the generators.
Inefficiency and recklessness.
Yes, there are many factors.
You must assure the country that this will stop.
This is going to be managed. I can't say it will stop, Honorable Speaker, because in any scientific process, there can be losses. But
Very
they have to be reasonable losses, Honorable Speaker. Yes. So we are going to work closely with the KPLC, and I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, by the work the KPLC management is doing currently. As a matter of fact, I'm privy to the information that they have done some turnaround. I'm not allowed by the rules of the CMA to get into details. But they have done some turnaround, and they may post some good figures in the coming...
Don't be prejudiced by briefs you have received. You'll get there and learn.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm just being optimistic. Yes. And giving the country hope. To borrow your words.
Yes. Okay. Continue.
Honorable Speaker, let me dash to the question, by Honorable Dawood. Murugara.
Murugara first.
Murugara, yes. Honorable Speaker, it is true, there have been historical injustices. Okay? And we must work together in terms of addressing these injustices or these imbalances. We must correct them. That's systematically. But I must also throw a challenge to my colleagues in the National Assembly, because I'm aware that this lopsided allocation of resources, especially on energy and electricity, is also coming from us in Parliament at the budget time. The agencies, the ministries, are receiving printed estimates with figures which they cannot change, they can't touch, which figures are scary, Honorable Speaker. You find one constituency being allocated upwards of 400 million Kenya shillings, while another one is getting a paltry 10 million Kenya shillings in the same financial year. So we must also actually do some introspection as a house to help us in the ministry, if and when I am approved, to deal with this issue. You know, once you bring printed estimates, the ministry, the agencies have got no leg room. They have no room to maneuver. Okay? So these imbalances, these injustices may continue as we watch, Honorable Speaker. There is also the issue of solars for schools. There is currently a very robust project being undertaken by REREC, the solar for schools. We want to follow through this project to ensure that at least every school in this country is able to benefit.
Point of order. No. Point of order.
George?
Me. Point of order. Solar has been tried from time immemorial. It works only for 1 month, 2 months, it just dies. And those schools will remain in the books of KPLC or whoever that they are connected through solar when actually it is not working. So it doesn't make sense whatsoever for Kenya Power or for RELEC to introduce or to go back to that solar business. Let us get connection to the national grid so that we also assured of constant electricity supply.
Point of order, Chairman, on the same.
Yes.
And you know, this was done mostly from the regions I come from. It is so that if you do electricity, the households around the school also are connected to power. But now if you give us solars, you're just giving to the schools, they're vandalized, they're not working, and you continue to marginalize us on issues to do with electricity. We don't want the solars.
Point of order, Speaker. Point of order.
And it is vendor-driven, the solars.
Yeah, point of order, Chair. I just want to urge my colleagues that, you know, the nominee is actually a nominee. And we are addressing the nominee like the CS for energy, a decision
which
we are yet
is
to
not.
make. Because the pressure is on him now dealing with solar versus, you know, regular energy. So.
No, it's important for him to know.
Probabilities. We are working on the probabilities.
You are being warned of landmines ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I've taken note. Yeah. I've taken note, Honorable Speaker. Let me just proceed quickly to Honorable Dawood. Yes, I've gotten your point on the possibility of moving from oil-based transformers to something else. I need to check with the technical people to be able to give some feedback on that. Honorable Speaker, there's an issue raised, the Honorable Dawood raised, on the Kenya oil refinery. Did you mean refinery or the Kenya pipeline?
Oil refinery with the pipeline.
Yes. You know, I am aware that the Kenya oil refinery has, or is in the process of being acquired by the Kenya Pipeline Company. I will need to get into the details as to the rationale behind this. But I still foresee a very big role for the Kenya oil refinery, at least its installation. Firstly, in terms of the processing of the crude oil, if and when it finally flows from the South Lokichar, yes, to Mombasa. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, I have come to the realization that this country does not have provision for a strategic reserve of oil. That we can actually, one of these days, wake up and find that we can't bring oil to Mombasa. And then, after some few days or weeks, we are ground to a halt as a country. So I think this facility in Mombasa can still be useful in future, once we work on the strategic oil for the country that can last for at least 90 days. That's the best practice universally, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
You have not answered if KPLC can do the fiber accompany. Would it be possible or not?
I will also pursue this. Yes.
Mary Emase.
Thank you. Nominee, you've talked about customer satisfaction. I put it to you that KPLC customers are the most dissatisfied. And I want to believe that there are serious management challenges to do with the leadership of KPLC. Why do I say that? A simple task, but of urgent nature, like restoring a falling post or a collapsing post, goes a time bomb. It can collapse any time, it's posing danger, and in certain instances it has occasioned deaths. It will take forever before it is restored. Actually, there is one about to fall onto my house. You will call the so-called regional directors. There is no response. Secondly, restoring power when there are those frequent outages. A transformer has failed or has busted, and some of them are in learning institutions in our regions. It is adversely affecting learning. In my constituency, some of them have taken more than 6 months, and it's not only in my constituency, it cuts across the country. If you are actually approved, you tell us what you're going to do about some of these management issues. Meter acquisition, you have applied for meters. And I'm told even these meters are already being adulterated by the cartels in the industry. You will wait forever. Kenyans have to bribe to get meters. Now, knowing the Wandayi that we know, I want to believe you're going to fight corruption in the energy sector. Sometimes, villagers have had to come together in there's a chama for power, so that they put money together to procure an independent electrician to restore power. This is the Kenya we are living in, Honorable Wandayi. And finally, you've talked about making sure that all the power lines, the projects that are incomplete or ongoing, that you will make sure they are completed in the shortest time possible. And I'm asking myself, Honorable Wandayi, where are you going to get the money from? Because after rationalization of the budget and the collapse of the finance bill, which you strongly objected to, reject the bill, can you tell us where you're going to get resources to finance all those projects? Because I want to believe the reason they are incomplete is because of funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Nominee, there are some key transmission lines that are yet to be constructed. And with the shrinking revenue and reduced headroom to borrow, What are you going to do to ensure that they are done, since the country needs them?
Honorable Mishimbo.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, my first question is on environmental concerns. And I'm talking about the proposed Lamu coal power plant. I know there have been some opposition from environmental groups concerned about the impact on the local ecosystem. So my question is, how will you balance energy needs with environmental protection? My second question, it is on the issue of the project dubbed the Lake Turkana Wind Power Project. I know you were once the chair of PAC, and I was also in the committee of PAC, and this matter kept on coming and coming each and every time. This project was at a tune of 70 billion, and so many billions had been already utilized. So I just want to ask you, do you see that the taxpayers' money had some value to where we are right now in regards to that Lake Turkana wind? I know you are not yet the Minister for that energy. Maybe you're going to be approved. I want you to check on this, because a lot of money have really been utilized, and yet we don't see any tangible results from that. My last question, it is in reference on what happened in Embakasi on the 2nd of February, where there was the explosion, and so many Kenyans were killed and some were injured. Again, there was an explosion by the petroleum tanker in Sashangwani about 11 years back, the other one at Molo. So my concern is, what safe standard measures are you going to put in place to ensure that we save Kenyans from such fatal accidents and any other times? I thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Sharia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mheshimiwa Wandayi. And as my colleague Murugada said, Balambala is connected to the national grid. And when we have power outages, you can imagine in my constituency, just to repair some lines took 7 months, and the people of Balambala were in the dark for 7 months. I appreciate KPLC. I've been trying to call them to fix, which finally they said they will this week. Kindly, can you, if approved, could you look into the turnaround or how fast they can attend to faults within the line? Because you can imagine a whole constituency which produces almost 54 megawatts and adds it to the national grid through solar, being in the dark for 7 months. How will I explain that to my constituents? So kindly look into that. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
It doesn't require kindness, it requires responsibility.
You know, he was my leader, so sometimes I have to treat him with the same respect that I did when he was my leader.
It requires responsibility. Dominic, can you answer those?
Okay, thank you. I'll try to be brief. And again, Honorable Emase is spot on. Yeah, the matter of customer satisfaction is known to all of us in terms of services by KPLC. What I think, without really going into details, because I'm here to assume the office. Honorable Speaker, what I think KPLC requires, and it's a giant company, actually employing over 10,000 people. What I think KPLC requires is an urgent, what we call business process reengineering, to look at the totality, okay, of the architecture of the management of KPLC processes and functions. Honorable Speaker. 2 is the question of transmission lines that are yet to be completed. Honorable Speaker, some of the lines, actually nearly all of the lines that I mentioned earlier on, that I will try to fast track their completion, have got funding. Okay? They have got funding as we speak. And most of the funding coming from development partners. So my work will be to work closely with the agencies responsible to have these projects completed within the timelines that are stipulated. The Honorable Mukami, again, is basically speaks to the question that has been raised by Honorable Emase. Yes. And I will work closely with you if I get the honor of being approved, yeah, to see to it that this is done, the matter of completion of these transmission lines. Honorable Mishi, yes. the question of carbon emissions is very serious. But again, we shall have to work closely with all stakeholders to strike a balance between energy needs of the country and environmental protection. That delicate balance will have to be struck, Honorable Speaker. Yes.
Just on the same.
Yes.
If you allow me, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to allow myself. Thank you. I would like to ask you a question on nuclear energy. You know, there's a proposal in my...
It's not the same.
No, it's...
a question on coal.
That is called, this is nuclear.
How can it be the same?
It's different.
Yes. Let him finish answering those questions, then I'll give you...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, Lake Turkana wind project. Honorable Speaker, for sure, this is a matter again of public notoriety. I kept hearing about it when I was in the last parliament, I think. Yes, it was within the purview of the Committee on Energy and PIC then. I'm aware, despite all the issues that were raised then and even now, that eventually the power is being generated. Okay? As a matter of fact, Honorable Speaker, in our total installed, out of our total installed energy capacity, which is about 3,200 megawatts, the wind power is accounting for about 460 megawatts or so, the bulk of which is from this Lake Turkana wind. So I will take time once I assume, if and when I assume office, to establish more details surrounding this project, yes, and to draw lessons from it that could inform our future engagement with similar projects. Yeah. Yeah, Honorable Speaker, yes, again, the issue of gas explosion in Bakassi, Sachangwan, and so on and so forth. It's a question of regulation. It's a question of regulation. I will be working closely with EPRA and enforcement of the law. Yes, I'll work closely with EPRA to see to it that these occurrences are a thing of the past. In fact, Honorable Speaker, one of the areas I'll be focusing on, if I get to be appointed, is to push the LPG uptake by the public in terms of cooking.